With Nigeria's general election just over a year away, the race is on to find the next leader of Africa's largest economy. And amid the growing list of presidential aspirants, many of them aged and experienced, there are calls for the Nigerian youth to take the reins in deciding the fate of their country, or at least upset the political status quo. And after 2020's historic NSAS protests against police brutality, those calls have grown louder. Those protests have drawn parallels with America's Black Lives Matter protests, and even further back, the civil rights movement of the 1960s, spearheaded by Martin Luther King Jr. Today, the U.S. Nigeria Educational and Cultural Leadership Program is using King's values to educate young Nigerians on the need to resist violence and destruction of property in their communities. It's part of a series of events the group hopes will contribute to the meaningful participation of young people as 2023 draws nearer. Well, I have with me in studio U.S. Nigeria Educational and Cultural Leadership Program Alumni Association National Program Coordinator Simon Peter Obi. It's good to have you here, Simon.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, let's just talk about some of the values that you actually have in this program of yours that it's very valuable to the Nigerian youth, deriving some inspiration from the late Martin Luther King Jr.
Let me begin by stating that the IVLP is a U.S. premier exchange program, and our focus is on leadership. And why we're putting this program is because the MLK Day is a significant day, across the world, commemorated on the 15th of January every year. And we are just using this opportunity, to raise awareness about the values that were espoused by MLK, during his time. And it is fortunate for us that the forthcoming election is around the corner. We also have the council's election, which are coming up in the next month. So this is a perfect time for us to go out to talk to young people across Nigeria.
And one wonder, what's been the reception like among young people when you talk of these values of non-violence and all of that? Because, I mean, there are several people who also differed from Martin Luther King Jr., saying that sometimes you just have to be violent for you to be able to get what you want, especially in Nigeria, that the government hardly listens when you take non-violence measures. How do you juxtapose those sort of observations?
Well, if you recall the recent NSAS protests in 2020, you would realize that the orientation has changed, really. The protest was peaceful and non-violent. So it tells us that the young people are beginning to understand what it means, to behave accordingly. But also there are a portion of young people who also do not believe in this peaceful and non-violent approach, and that is why as an alumni group, we want to continue to use this opportunity, a day like this, to raise awareness and to educate young people, those who do not understand the concept of using non-violent. But again, MLK was a very typical example of non-violent approach. His story is one that everyone is aware of.
Yeah, so and that other part of my question, when a lot of young people keep saying that the Nigerian government, for example, hardly listen to people who are non-violent, is when you are agitated that the government comes to listen to you, because you either close roads or there's a struggle or you're fighting security agencies and all of that.
Well, the point is, change is never easy. Even in the time of Martin Luther King Jr., we saw the different resistance he got from the government, but he persisted in his non-violent approach. So we will continue to preach and educate young people, especially those who do not believe, that the government will listen to them. We encourage them to continue doing what they are doing, but most importantly to, to imbibe non-violent approach, because that is the way, to making progress.
Just take us through one of the programs you hope to hold during this weekend as part of activities to strengthen this kind of outreach and then get more people to understand what you're doing.
Okay, so we are planning an event on Saturday, 15th of January, in a community known as Damangaza.
That's in the nation's capital, Abuja here.
Yes, within the Armak area council. One interesting part of this community is that it's a local community surrounded by well-built, estates, but unfortunately, they lack basic amenities. So
it could sort of provoke violent agitations.
Absolutely,
and all of that.
Absolutely. And then we chose this community because of its unique position, and of course the lack of basic amenity that are visible within its environment. So I mean, we are going there discussing with the different ethnic, religious group and leaders across the community people. And so far so good. The community have been so cooperative in this feat. They've given us the award, and they're mobilizing themselves in numbers, to receive us and to hear what we're going to share with them.
A lot of Nigerian youth would want to wonder what this program is all about. How do they get to be part of this program so that they will enjoy certain benefits? I mean, like you're doing as an alumnus of this institution by the U.S. government. Okay,
so in terms of IVLP, like I earlier mentioned, is an exchange program. You must have been doing a great thing in society for you to be nominated. So you don't get to apply for it by the U.S. government. So you must be outstanding in your field, for you to be nominated.
So the U.S. Embassy has to identify you and relate with what you're doing before they can actually nominate you. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely, absolutely. And then in terms of the MLK Day, it's not just in Nigeria, it is happening across the world. And different groups are commemorating this event by organizing different enlightenment and educational programs. You can go online if you're listening to me and you want to be part of this program. There are a lot of different events, and you can also visit our social media platform where we shall be.
Now let's talk about the issues of fighting for civil rights and all of that. Yeah, we've always known Martin Luther King Jr. with all of that, but how would you say a lot of Nigerians have embraced the struggle for fighting for their rights without being violent?
For me, I think progress has been made. I mean, it's not like 10 years ago. We saw the incessant violence during election. A lot of things happened during election. But recently, young people who are at the forefront of this issue have beginning to understand what it means to approach non-violent approach. And for me, I think we're making progress in the civil space. And if you look
especially if you consider that this is the 10-year anniversary of Occupy Nigeria.
Absolutely.
I mean, in 2012, when lots of young people had to come out.
Absolutely.
Well, we must thank you so much, Simon, for joining us here.